Over the years, working with chiefs of staff from lots of different organizations across different industries, a really common question that we get is there a job description that we have for a good chief of staff? What makes a good chief of staff? Are there typical functions of the role? And there's lots of great stuff out there on, standard kind of job descriptions, et cetera. But what we've found to be more useful than a standard job description is really a framework, and a framework that allows a chief of staff to look at the experiences of their role through a different lens. The challenge with a standard job description in this role is, as many chiefs of staff know, it really depends on the principal, on the organization, on the needs of the organization, on the needs of the principal. And that's why I think this framework can be really useful for chiefs, and we found it be useful for chiefs over the years. So let me walk through that. Typically with a chief of staff, you're coming into an organization and you want to hit the ground running. And typically, as many chiefs, we're hungry to kind of get in with the principal. So we want to start usually as this thought partner to our principal. And we want to be in these closed-door sessions. We want to be really thinking with them about, strategy of the organization. We want to be here. We want to be thinking about, what's the future of the organization? I want to be this trusted advisor to my principal. That's where I want to jump in, because that's where I'm going to make the most impact. What we found, though, is that if chiefs of staff start there, they're typically not as effective. So I'm going to reverse this quad for you and show you typically where a chief of staff needs to start. It really is around, first and foremost, is my principal executing on what they need to be executing on? This first phase as a new chief of staff might take you a couple of days, might take you a couple of weeks. It really depends on who your principal is and what other structures or people are around your principal. So for example, sometimes this really does bleed into an executive assistant's area. A really strong executive assistant is the one prepping materials for your principal, making sure they're in meetings on time, making sure they're meeting with the right people. Again, making sure they are just executing on what they need to be executing on. But once you've got that set, and as a new chief, once you've understood where your principal needs to be spending his or her time, then you can move into, all right, is the organization executing on what they need to be executing on? Does the organization have the connections? Are we synchronized as an organization? Are we meeting at the right appropriate times? Are people getting information they need to do their jobs? Again, it's about synchronization, execution. You're really just helping get things done. We see that a lot with chiefs of staff. We're kind of the oil that goes in the engine to the friction points, right? We just help people get things done. That's what this area is really about. Once that's happening, you've started to build relationships in the organization, you can deepen those relationships, and now you're getting into this strategy role. And this section is really all about trust. And you are building trust with the broader team. You are being seen as this extension of your principal a bit. And also you are being seen as this honest broker for the organization. It's not about sharing your opinions, but it's about hearing different perspectives. It's about bringing that back to your principal. It's about bringing that broadly to the organization. When you've built that trust inside the team, inside the broader organization, you really have a good sense of what's happening inside the organization. That's when we can get now to this place where you are that trusted advisor, that honest broker to your principal. But you can see when we look through this pattern or this flow, by skipping these first couple steps, if we jump right to that fourth quadrant, you might be missing things, might be missing context in the broader organization. You might be turning your back, whether you realize it or not, on key personnel inside the organization, key influencers. So it's critical as a chief of staff that you're looking at your role not just as how am I supporting my principal, but really importantly, how am I supporting the organization and helping this organization run? So when I was a chief of staff, I used this framework probably every quarter, maybe every 6 months with my principal to really make sure, am I spending the right time in each of these areas? Is some of my time going into one area more than another? And is that okay? Again, this framework can be a really useful tool, not only to just understand and make sense of your experience as a chief of staff, but also as a tool with your principal to open up that conversation of, am I spending my time where you want me to be spending my time?